Welcome back, everybody, to the second round of the quarterfinals of the WR Chess Masters, and we have cameras. Let's have a look. The players are about to begin. I put the cameras on 50 minutes delay, but maybe our PGN is delayed further. Hope we will have moves incoming any minute now to have them more or less in sync. My name is Jan Gustafsson. Thank you for joining me. We have three big matchups for these quarterfinals. Did I say three? Four big matchups. Arjun-Erigaisi drew his first game against Vidit, and game number 2 is just kicking off. Vachier-Lagrave against Praggnanandhaa, also draw in the first game. Now Vichy with the white pieces. Let's see if he finds the strength to play for a win here, or if that game is headed for Armageddon quickly. Then we have Abdusattorov versus MVL. That was a relatively quick draw in the first game. Now Abdusattorov with the white pieces. And we have Alireza Firouzja against Raunak Sadhwani. Raunak, we can see, managed to show up to the board, which is great news for him. The question is, can he do the impossible and stage a comeback versus Alireza, after giving Alireza a full point with the black pieces? Now Raunak himself has to win with black, which of course is a fairly tall order. Still waiting here for the live moves to kick in. While we're waiting, we can see Alright everybody, we have lift off. And we have some exciting positions, at least to my eyes, in Arjun Erigaisi against Vidit. We had the first game and a draw. Both sides dodged a bullet there. Arjun was much better first.
Alright everybody.
Okay, shut up Jan. The Berlin is played, Vidit's main opening. And Arjun does not play pawn to d3, but he goes for short castles. Knight takes e4, rook e1. So far so good. This is considered to be super solid line, but he doesn't do that either. He goes for d4, knight d6. Once again, does not go for the endgame. Bishop takes c6, d takes c6, but plays bishop a4, which is a gambit, sacrificing a pawn. And this is a bold choice. Of course, this move has been seen before, won't come as news to Vidit. Black has a choice here between e takes d4, when white could play pawn to c3, very sharp. But Vidit plays e4, the more solid approach. Rook to e1, bishop to e7, knight to e5, short castles, knight to c3, pawn to f5, keeping the extra pawn, and bishop to f4. So Arjun has prepared something interesting for this game. I believe black can try to hang on to the extra pawn now. Going knight takes e5, d takes e, and knight to f7. When white has some long-term compensation, but it's still a pawn. Like bishop b3, king to h8. Arjun means business. He has not come to make a quick draw and leave it to the gods of Armageddon. By sacrificing a pawn, trying to put Vidit under pressure, Vidit, great theoretician, will probably know his way around here. But yeah, impressive how Arjun finds ways to fight in pretty much every game against the most solid of openings. Let's see how Vidit navigates this. Taking a little time, and we'll do a brief tour through the other games. In Anand against Pragg. Pragg plays a French, not his main weapon, but he's been doing that recently quite a bit. The candidates, he also had a game or two where he was using this. And Anand is saying, you know what, I don't want any funny business. Exchange French, it is e takes d5, e takes d5. Maybe he was impressed by what a good position Erigaisi got with black earlier in his knight c3, knight f6 line. So Anand's saying, I'm not going to mess around, kid. Knight f3, knight to c6 played, bishop to d3. Is that what they normally do? I believe Nepomniachtchi played knight c3 here against Pragg in the candidates. Sure, bishop b5 is also some theory. But bishop d3 played in the game. I'm not sure if Vichy prepared this or if he's freestyling because he didn't expect the French. And knight to b4 played, saying, I want to create imbalances immediately. If you move the bishop again with bishop e2, bishop f5 will happen. So already some decisions here to be made for Vichy. Of course, you're not worse if you castle, but to give up a bishop like that, I don't think Vichy's going to like that. So maybe he should give a check and then go bishop a4, trying to put the bishop here. That strikes me as the most solid. Then you can go c3, bishop c2, and the bishop covers the c2 pawn already. Am I being too loud? I can control that. Too loud is easier to navigate than not loud enough. It's a high-tech operation here. Apologies. So knight b4, Anand taking his time. And that is probably an indicator that he did not expect the French, then thought, you know what, I don't want a theory debate, I didn't prepare anything. Let's play the exchange. And after knight c6, he more or less freestyled bishop d3. Well, Prague, of course, was ready. Played knight b4. And Anand taking his time. But I like giving a check here. Then putting the bishop here. And it can jump back into action later. With c3, bishop c2. Let's have a look at Nyback versus MVL. MVL with another Grunfeld, and Nyback chooses sideline bishop to d2, which had its moment of popularity around 20 years ago. This was all the rage. But pawn to c5 is supposed to be a good anecdote. Pawn to c5. And if you go e4, black can take here, then take here. I think here you can sacrifice a pawn with e5. Getting some compensation. So Nyback has something else in mind. After c5 he just takes, goes d takes c5. Maxime plays bishop g7. Now Nyback is sitting there thinking, I can't remember, what did I prepare here? It's queen c1, queen a4, knight f3. Taking a moment here. Which, yeah. With this pace, 2 classical games per day, the players, of course, can't spend hours preparing for every game in great detail. But still a bit surprising that Nyback is already taking time. When it was him who prepared or who chose bishop d2, c5 and d takes c5. Bishop g7. Yeah. My engine wants to go queen to c1, which looks somewhat artificial, but trying to stop knight takes c3, bishop takes, when now you could recapture with the queen. It's a little deep. Maxime, yeah, black is a pawn down, but he's such an experienced Grunfeld player that I don't think the themes would overwhelm him here. And he would just continue development. Knight c6, castles, bishop f5, and look for counterplay. But I'm very curious to see how this is going to go. In our last game, Sadhwani does not look like he believes in the comeback against Alireza after he overslept the morning round, and he goes for the most solid line known to man. I call it the Wesley So semi-Tarash. cd5, cd4, queen d4, e takes d5, which we've seen earlier in this tournament, where Masoudlu played bishop g5 against Raunak, went on to lose, but that had nothing to do with the opening. Alireza, only needing a draw, plays e4, which is, I guess, still the main line. Very, very solid for white, if he wants it to be. Knight to g5, regaining the pawn by targeting both f7 and e4. Bishop e6 takes, pawn takes, and bishop to g5. Why is a pawn down for now? But he will be able to regain that. Currently threatening knight takes e4. Can also go long castles if black plays bishop b4 and then capture it. I struggle recalling theory as usual. I think you go something like this, king e8, if takes, knight takes e4, then black can play king e7. It has everything more or less under control. Here there are other moves for sure. I'm not 100% sure about the details. I haven't refreshed my Wesley opening knowledge for a while. h6 also looks logical. But basically Raunak is playing his main opening, trying to be extremely solid. But that probably won't be enough to win a game versus Alireza. Or at least, that would be my guess. I'm here, guys. I'm aware you can't see me. Some struggles getting the so-called live PGN, as you can see on the boards. Moves are coming in, but I can't quite recognize them, so I'm gonna need a second. Doing what I can here. Apologies. So in the meantime, I'll put up the cameras. Can try to get those sharper as well. But as I've mentioned a couple times, this is a last minute operation. We are grateful to have any cameras from Chessbase India that we can use for the show. But don't expect too much. This is still me sitting in my basement all by myself, hoping that I get some signals and some games we can talk about. I don't think the cameras have anything to do with the live PGN. Those are different things. Anyway, I'll leave you with the cams for now. Try to sort it out. Sorry guys, I'm working hard here. Apologies, this is... yeah. Some reshuffling has to be done. But it will make the show better, so bear with me. Give me a couple minutes and we'll be up and running. Hopefully properly. Alright, that's gonna be as good as it gets for now. So let us look at some chess. In the MVL game, the Grunfeld, Nyback-Abdusattorov prepared this rare move d takes c5. MVL went bishop g7, and Nyback indeed did play queen to c1. Short castles. Pawn to e4, which I guess is still home cooking. He was playing reasonably quickly. Knight to b4. Well, this is a position Maxime should feel comfortable in. He's a pawn down, but his king is safe, his pieces are active. He's played the Grunfeld all his life. So I don't think he's too concerned here. a3. Knight d3 check. Bishop takes. Queen takes. Now black gets the two bishops. Knight to e2. And knight to d7. Interesting choice. I'm not sure about knight d7. Knight c6 looked somewhat more natural to me. But he goes knight d7, hits the pawn. And seems like Nyback is now trying to figure out what to do. Could just keep it with bishop to e3. Now ask Maxime how he plans to regain it. Let's check back in with Arjun-Erigaisi and Vidit. Arjun chose his very sharp line out of the opening, sacrificed the pawn against the super solid Berlin. Bishop to f4. Knight takes e5 played. D takes e, knight f7. That is still some kind of theory. Bishop to b3. King h8. Bishop takes, rook takes, and queen h5. Arjun is still blitzing, very obviously. Still in book. Computer says black is doing very well here, but it's still not the most pleasant feeling if your opponent is blitzing out moves and you're sitting there having to solve some direct problems. So I'm not sure how thrilled Vidit is about the way this has been going. Still, objectively it looks like black is just fine. You can play either g6, kick the queen away, go somewhere, then c6 to cover the square. The question then is, how do you get your pieces out after rook ad1, for example? Looks kind of scary, even with the computer yelling equality. And Comp is also saying queen to e8, after knight to d5, bishop to d8. Which, yeah, once again, it's all fine for computers. They can defend any position. But for puny humans, this does not exactly look like fun. Let me try something. It's gonna look annoying. But I would love to have Vidit's full rating there. Almost there. Sorry for all this improv, but there were some very understandable requests for cameras, so I'm trying to make this better. Pretty much in real time here. Apologies, this is just Tech Jan all by myself in the basement, and you guys know what a tech wizard I am. All right, so Vidit is taking his time. But what is he going to do? Queen e8 is a tough move to make, to my mind somehow. I would probably go g6. Which, however, does weaken some dark squares, so it's not an easy decision. And yeah, Arjun keeps him pressing, willing to play something new every game. To surprise Vidit in the opening is not an easy feat at all. Yeah, powerful stuff, but objectively, as I mentioned, Compy says, ain't worry about nothing, do whatever. Vichy has listened to our excellent advice, and maybe it was just the games being a bit too late and not Vichy being out of book after knight b4. Has gone bishop b5 check, pawn to c6, bishop to a4, pawn to a5, pawn to a3, knight to a6, and pawn to c3, so the bishop can drop back to c2, which is the diagonal it wants to be on. Keep an eye on h7, bishop d6, same goes for the black bishop. Short castles on knight e7, Pragg trying to keep the option. First of all, it's nice to have the e-file blocked so there's no check, but also to keep the option after castles, if the bishop shows up here, to maybe exchange it by going bishop to f5. Looks like a fairly equal position. Bishop c2 played. I guess you castle. I'm wondering if Vichy will try to stop bishop f5 by going knight h4, which looks somewhat artificial, but at least stops black's obvious plan and clears the way for the queen to show up here. Mr. Yetiface saying Arjun is looking coolest, great jacket. Everybody else is looking chess player bland. I don't know. Alireza looks stylish as usual. Sadhwani is a sharp dresser. Pragg, okay, sort of has his uniform. No, he has the sponsors. He has his navy suit he's usually wearing. Vichy probably also has some logos on his shirt. Who else do we have? MVL, smart casual, Nyback wearing some polo shirt. I don't know. I disagree. I like Alireza's hoodie, Raunak sporting the big jacket. But yeah, guys made an effort. Have moves coming in here very sparingly, which is not ideal. So, the Raunak game is over. Quick draw, agreed. Raunak did not really believe in his chances to put up a big fight there. And Alireza was happy, saving some energy and moving through to the semi-finals. That means Vachier-Lagrave is our first semi-finalist. We fast forward till the end. And I think the players agreed to draw a little later than that. So yeah, understandable after Raunak had this accident oversleeping earlier that he didn't really feel like he had a chance to come back with black against Alireza. But pity for him, missed a chance to have an exciting match against a world-class player. But what is going on in the MVL game? So we've seen he played knight to d7, the bishop went to e3, went queen to c4, still chasing that pawn on c5, short castle, knight takes c5, and knight to d5. It's not an excellent book. They started taking a bit of time, so probably not. Queen takes e2, and queen takes c5. Currently material is equal, but the white pieces are much more active. e7 is hanging. This looks tough for Maxime, does it not? b6 played. And now Nyback trying to figure out if he should go knight takes e7 check or queen takes e7. Both look like sort of reasonable options. Not sure, frankly. Let's think this through. Knight takes e7, king h8, and maybe black is active enough here. The queen has to go somewhere. I don't know where. Let's say here. Black keeps developing b2. b2 is weakened. Maybe this is alright. Maybe queen takes e7 is a better chance, leaving this knight on the beautiful d5 square, eyeing all kinds of jumps. Black would probably take the pawn, not just to restore material equality, also to cover the f6 square with the queen and to be able to go queen e5 back. And now some move. How bad is this? Still unpleasant with these weaknesses around the king. But not the end of the world. We will need the French school of defense once again. In full defense mode, because it does not look like a pleasant position, while Nyback is leaning in, trying to figure out how to take on e7, if at all. Yeah, the Raunak game ended here. Chad is saying bit lame. Try at least. It's very hard to win on demand against a stronger player if you're outrated by 100 points, and then to win on demand with the black pieces. He chose to play his main opening and not to jeopardize his rating. You could of course say, yeah, play King's Indian, see where the chips fall, but he wasn't up for it after the drama early in the morning. That means his tournament does end here. See how Vichy's been doing. Play bishop c2 back, and Pragg went bishop f5 directly, not wasting any time for castles. Well, maybe he didn't like this knight to h4. Bishop f5 also looks good. Check, knight e7 back, and b3. He's adjusting to the fact that the light square bishops are gone, and he's trying to play c4, followed by knight c3, arranging his pieces that way. Pragg has the better bishop now, with the bishop on d6 versus the one on c1, but he did lose some time on this bishop f5 exchange operation. So I guess it's still roughly equal, but Anand has to be careful not to go too passive here. There's this classical game. Gurevich versus Short, was it? Where Gurevich needed a draw against the French. Played the exchange French and slowly got into trouble. Bordana would have taken the draw. I do agree. Not sure she would have won the match, but she would have played till the bitter end, for sure. Yeah, castle c4 on the board. White should be fine, but it did look like Vichy, after seeing the French, decided, you know what, let's call it a day. Let's go to Armageddon. Let's keep the 2-750. And Pragg is saying, no, I would like to fight, sir. Which, yeah, is a tricky situation psychologically, but Anand is so strong, of course, that he understands what he has to do here. Went b3, c4, preparing knight c3. And yeah, I think he'll be alright. This is a high-tech operation now, yeah. More tech, more problems. Let's check in with Arjun Erigaisi against Vidit. We've seen queen h5, and I couldn't decide between g6 and queen e8. Vidit chose door number 3. Went king to g8. Also covers the rook. Knight to d5, logical enough. And d6, yeah, very human approach. He's trying to free his bishop. Rook ad1, bishop to e6. Looks like a very decent practical choice. He's happy to give back a pawn to get his pieces out. For example, knight takes e7, queen e7, e takes d, c takes d, whatever. Rook takes d6. Rook goes back, then we try to exchange some stuff. Does look like Vidit has done well to neutralize Arjun's opening surprise. But there's still plenty chess to be played. Does Jan have to play Chess Base India for the high tech? This is not my stream. This is the WR Chess Tournament. And I don't know about the behind the scenes deals, but since they're organizing the tournament, I'm guessing they have an arrangement with Sagar that he can film there. They can use the cameras. I didn't just take them. We cast with Svidler again sometime. I'd love to call him up. Pragg now thinking, trying to figure out what he should do after pawn to c4. h6 has been played, and the white knight went to c3. Not sure what's next. Rook to e8 looks logical enough. Just putting the rook on the open file. Then to have a look around. Not sure you need to play h6, but probably didn't want to have to think about bishop to g5. But I like this b3 c4 from Anand, adjusting to the situation. He can even do funky stuff like rook a2, rook e2, bring this guy into play if he so chooses. Looks somewhat better. For white, but of course black has a very, very sound position. Harsh Singh, apologies. My name is spelled Jan and pronounced Jan. We'll work on that. Some calls, but I'm live on air. Can't take those. Danger Moise, high hopes for a guerrilla stream from Thailand for the World Championship. Me too, me too. But let's not get too excited. Prag went knight to g6. Should listen to my advice. Put the rooks on the open files. But doesn't seem. Kids nowadays. But knight g6. Now g3 is screaming to be played. Just controlling both the knight and the dark square bishop. I don't know. Looks like Vichy is doing fine. Once again. With the knight to c7. Not too clear. What he should be doing. Let's try to update our other games. Queen takes e7, queen takes b2. Played in the Nyback game. Did he play bishop f4? Not sure what that's about. He does look happy. Not sure how much optimism the position warrants. If Maxime goes bishop e6. Looks like he's okay. No, is there knight c7? Black is bishop f6, kicking the queen away here. No, doesn't strike me as too bad a spot for Maxime. Bishop f4, bishop e6 played. Maxime goes for a little stroll. Reza saying, okay, I have my answer. Raunak overslept and missed the first game. He did indeed. Even though he had set 2 alarms, according to him, he had his AirPods connected, so the alarm wouldn't ring. We did test it earlier this day. Seems like the alarm still rings with the AirPods. So, we need an investigation into the Sadhwani sabotage. But yeah, 10 a.m. Not every chess player's favorite time. Very understandably. Not very, but did happen. Doesn't happen much in other sports, does it? Like NBA games, but they don't start early, so it's easier. But I've never seen a game where they said, sorry, we don't know where LeBron is. Probably still sleeping. Maybe he has AirPods in. But it is what it is. Alireza moves on to the next round and is our first semi-finalist The other 3 games that are still being disputed all ended in draws in round number 1. So players will be cautious, and we probably will have Armageddon or 2 later today. But for now, everybody looks determined to play this out. And I'm not sure. Nyback now after bishop f4, bishop e6 is sinking into thought. Not sure what his idea was with this bishop coming here. I don't really see a great follow-up. My best guess is he wanted to play knight c7, but missed that after bishop f6. His queen doesn't have anywhere good to go, because if it goes here, gets another kick. If it goes here, then rook c8, pins the knight, and there's no real way forward. So knight c7, bottom line, it's a bad move. White has to be more humble here, play some rook to d1. But it looks like the worst is over for MVL. And here he can even get some very typical Grunfeld position. Where white has his passed d pawn, but black has enough counterplay. With rook to e4, for example. Pinning. So I do have a feeling that Maxime will be just fine. I'm not sure if that just fine will extend to better. More likely than not, will just mean the game will fizzle out and end inequality. But for now it feels like Nyback-Abdusattorov, the Uzbek star, has slightly messed this up and now has to be careful with how to proceed. We could see his hand was going towards the knight, but knight c7 does not look like the way to go. Keep an eye on it. What happened in Alireza's game? Draw. Raunak overslept the morning game, lost by default. Now made a quick draw with black. Maxime should have the advantage on faster time controls. Are you sure? Abdusattorov is a former world rapid champion, huh? I don't know. I think they're quite evenly matched in faster time controls. Yeah, Nyback, such a great fighter. I would not write him off. What did he play? Played rook ab1. Looked like rook ab1. It's the queen. Guess the queen should head to d4. Targeting this pawn, and maybe wants rook b4. Remains complicated. Meanwhile, in Erigaisi Vidit, some piece got exchanged in the Anand game after h6, knight c3. What was it? Knight g6. Anand chose to play queen to d3. Did not play g3. Not creating any weaknesses. Very harmonious position still. Praggnanandhaa. Has to be precise, but probably will be. Knight to c7. Looks like a decent option. Just making sure everything's covered here. Rook e8 still like better. After knight g6, note that cd5, cd5, knight d5 was not winning a pawn because of the good old discovered attack. Bishop takes h2. Then you recapture. So knight g6, queen d3, knight c7 played. And Anand does play g3 now. Yeah, nice classy move to make. Restricting both the knight and the bishop. Also making a luft for the king on g2. I've always struggled with this. If your opponent has a dark square bishop, do you go h3 or g3? But here, where you're also restricting the knight, the case is pretty clear. Here you go g3. It's always confusing because there are all these rules like don't put your pawns on the color of your own bishop, but also put your pawns on the color of the opponent's bishop. When these rules contradict each other, we have to make a judgment call. But yeah, here as I said, g3 makes lots of sense. Just making sure none of the pieces ever jump anywhere. Let's check back in with Erigaisi and Vidit, where, yeah, as I was saying, Vidit was willing to give a pawn back to get his pieces out. Sensible decision. Erigaisi takes the pawn, Vidit goes rook d8 directly, exchanges a pair of rooks. Now he goes rook f8, trying to exchange another pair of rooks. Arjun is saying, nope, the d file is mine. Goes queen back to d1. Rook e8. Now he has a little pressure. Nice reorganization there with queen to d1, followed by queen to d4. a6, c4, queen f7. Vidit wants to go rook e7, rook d7, probably h6 first to get rid of this intruder. b3, rook e7, yeah, here comes the rook. But is it equal? Or can Arjun ask some questions here? Computer does not like rook e7 because of rook d8 check. Rook e8 has to be played, and now bishop to e5. But still some pressure. If you takes, queen to c7. Black is still struggling quite a bit to hang in there. So maybe rook e7 was premature. He should have started h6 and then done this after his king has some air. But I did go rook e7, maybe too eager to exchange the rooks and be done with it. So now he might have to suffer. Let's check in bishop e5. Looks pretty strong, threatening to take and take here as well. Good news for black is he can probably survive something like this, because queen d7 forces the queens off the board. And this should be a draw. Yeah, pretty certain this is a draw. But never fun to be a pawn down, even if it's in an opposite color bishop endgame. So still some work left here for Vidit, who in the morning round was under a lot of pressure with white, but then almost won the game after Arjun pressed a little too hard and made a few inaccuracies. Here it just looks like it's gonna be somewhat thankless fight for a draw for Vidit. And yeah, rook d8 check. Rook e8 and bishop e5 is on the board. Now, Vidit will have to figure out how to defend this. Apparently, yeah, queen f8, like I was showing, takes. Giving up the pawn and then going queen d7 is the way to go. But fun, it is not. What's going on in Maxim's game? Nyback is nodding his way into the position after queen d4. But is he better? Rook b4, the queen keeps running away. Now Maxim is active enough here. I think he'll be just fine. It's important that after knight c7, there's still some tactic. In this case, would be bishop to c4, hitting the rook on f1. If takes, queen takes. This just simplifies. Black is perfectly fine. So I think Maxim's gonna be okay. Pragg should also be okay. It's this typical second round game. Your first game was a draw. You want to put some pressure ideally with white, but you also don't want to burn your bridges. And yeah, Erigaisi struck a nice balance, put some pressure, jumped to surprise, but his position remains very safe, especially now. It's a game for 2 results after bishop e5. And Anand is trying to do the same thing here with the exchange French. Nyback chose a sharp line, and he was well prepared. He's always very well prepared. But Maxim is so used to getting ambushed in the Grundfeld and wiggling, is that word? Wiggling his way out of there. That, especially now, I don't think we have to be too concerned about him. I put my kids in front of the TV. They're watching Monster High #2. That should be coming to an end around now. So I should probably check in on them. Sorry for the tech issues. And trying what I can here to keep us updated, because these are some exciting games. It is an exciting tournament. And hopefully we'll be able to cover it the way it deserves. For now, the 2 All-India matchups tied at 1 draw. Erigaisi putting some mild pressure with the white pieces, but Vidit still has enough to defend the position, while Pragg is maybe slightly worse in an exchange French, but not under any serious pressure either after exchanging a bunch of rooks as we saw here. I'll leave you with the cameras and be back in a bit. Thanks for your patience. See you then. Hello again, let's check back in with our games, and we have quite some developments in the Erigaisi Vidit game after rook e7, rook d8, rook e8, bishop e5. Vidit decided to go for the very bold pawn to g5, which is understandable. He did not want to lose the pawn, but it also comes at fairly high price of weakening the king, and Arjun immediately seized the chance to expose that king further. Went for pawn to h4. This is looking pretty grim for Vidit. He took, g takes h, queen went back to d2, threatening a check here. How do you defend this? Rook takes d8. Now the problem is queen takes d8, queen f8, queen g5 check. Why wins? Because after king f7 there's queen f6 check. And what else can you do? Queen g5 is a big threat. Maybe you have to try to block the queen's path, but if you go e3, the problem is white can still take. Queen takes e3 and rook takes d8 is met by queen g5 check. Still winning this rook with a winning advantage. So I don't really see a way out for Vidit. g5 was just too much. His troubles really started when he went for this rook e7 and moved too early. He just played h6, made a luft, and then gone for rook e7 to be able to meet rook d8 check with king h7. I don't think there was anything particularly wrong with this position. But here, after bishop to e5, pawn to g5, pawn to h4, gh4 the computer also doesn't like, says h6, but it already looks very pleasant. And queen to d2. Note that h4 was another smart move, not only making some air for his own king, but also he wants to go queen d2, but if he does it directly, then black has the option to go h6 or even f4, blocking the queen's path. But if you start with g5, h4, then after gh, queen d2, none of these moves make a lot of sense anymore, because after h6 there's just queen takes h6, and f4 is still somewhat possible, but white can just take it if you can't think of anything better. Yeah, f4 has been played. Now Arjun will weigh his options, but they all look promising. He can just take when material remains equal, but he keeps a much safer king, and the black position remains very unpleasant. The computer is also indicating that there is the move bishop to c3, which seems very strong. Just preparing queen d4 and an attack on this diagonal. Black should play queen e7, takes, and queen to d4, threatening checkmate, threatening a check here. This looks very unpleasant. Or, in computer lingo, +2. Queen g7 is a threat. This is not my channel, this is the channel of the WR Chess. Masters WR Chess is a series of tournaments. The WR Chess Masters is also a chess team that featured some of the players we see here, but Magnus Carlsen as well, that won the World Blitz Team Championship. And my name is Jan Gustafsson. I am a German chess grandmaster. Not a tech wizard, struggling to keep this low-tech operation running here. But we have some fun matchups, so trying our best to keep track of all the happenings. Queen d2, f4. I do have a pretty good name. It's not getting any better, but what to do? Big moment now. If Arjun spots this move, bishop to c3, he's rightly taking time. Why does it have to be c3? Is b2 much worse? Just trying to understand the difference. Apparently then black has queen g6 and he can sort of survive, so why is that not valid after bishop c3? Takes, queen d4, queen g6. Check. Apparently, some line makes a difference. That this bishop should go to b4, not to a3. That is way beyond my understanding. Thanks, Ritesh. Yeah, it's always if you have too many balls in the air and the games aren't updating the way I want them. So I'm trying to figure out what's actually being played in the games. I get a little anxious. I like to focus on just talking nonsense. But doing what we can. Thanks, guys, for hanging out here. Do I stream on my channel later? I don't know. This could take a while, and they could play Armageddon. I think that's the plural at 11 p.m. Also, I have to get my kids to bed. So I have a lot of issues. Not sure I'll be able to stream on my channel today. We'll find out. Arjun, don't make it bad. He's taking his time here. And the thing is, bishop takes f4. So natural. You know you're better and you can just keep pressing. But you don't get to 2800 without calculating a few lines. So Arjun senses the moment. Trying to figure out if bishop c3 or bishop b2. Once again, not quite smart enough to explain the difference. Tending queen d4 is the way to go. Ich komme gleich nicht. Ja, wie kannst du schon mal Jonas sagen, er soll seinen Schlafanzug anziehen? Ja. Christian? Ja. Dankeschön. Making my daughter put my son to bed. We'll see how that goes. What these guys up to? Not much, really, are they? Exchanging a bunch of pieces. Anand with white was maybe the tiniest bit better, but looks like Pragg has organized his pieces nicely. We should forget that long term, black has the better bishop because his pawn is fixed on a light square. The white pawn on d4 is fixed on a dark square. So this bishop has a clearer line of sight, even though it's been restricted here. Then this guy, bishop e7, he's trying to regroup it to f6. Target pawn on what's called d4. Rook d1, knight f8. trying to bring more forces towards staring at the d4 pawn. It's not like any big threats yet, and I would expect Anand to play something like bishop f4, knight f6, bishop e5. Keeping control and also getting rid of his quote-unquote bad bishop. So nothing too drastic appears to have happened. Vidit's time management is quite bad. Okay, he's playing against the best in the world. Sometimes you need to solve some problems. But he is a bit time trouble prone. I'm not sure about his habits. I've seen it quite a bit, but I'm not sure it's a permanent problem. Arjun did play bishop takes f4. Yeah, computer was yelling bishop c3, but bishop takes f4 is so much more natural. Just taking the pawn, keeping control, and you can always try to launch an attack on the dark squares later. I'm not sure the clocks I have here are completely accurate because the PGMs are coming in every now and then, but that usually messes up the clocks. I'm not sure if you guys have good enough eyes to see it on the camera there. I don't. It does look like Vidit has less time, but looks more than 152 to me. Could be wrong. Queen e7 played. William's asking, why so many Indian players in this tournament? My best guess is they were invited. They're some of the best players in the world. I'm not sure there's more to it. Queen e7. Arjun will probably exchange the rooks and then try to continue the harassment on the dark squares. But at least Vidit has a fighting chance now. He's still worse, and he will be worse for a while, because his king is just less safe than the white king. But there's nothing direct happening. Yeah, I'm crazy that way, Danger Mouse. Whoa, I'm surprised by what Vichy did a little bit. He went knight e2, knight fe6 and c5. Fixing his pawns on dark squares. Isn't he worse now? This looks a bit unpleasant. Feeling Vichy, playing the exchange French. He was happy getting this game over with quickly. But Pragg just keeps playing, so he's in this in-between spot. Between being solid and, you know, trying to be aggressive, putting some pressure here. I'm not sure. c5. I'm just curious why he didn't go bishop f4. Looks so natural just to get rid of the bad bishop. And it's the worst thing that could happen. Draw? I don't understand anything anymore. Ah, no, they're showing the wrong board here. The Pragg board is still in the back. Or is it? Does look like Pragg has a more pleasant position now. Arjun Certainly has a more pleasant position. But he probably is realizing as well he doesn't have a direct win anywhere. And therefore will burn some time here. Bit of a decision if he should try to exchange rooks or keep them on the board with rook d4. That's what he's thinking about. Critical analysis saying Vish is a shadow of his former self. Age is catching. We'll get older, but how many 2750 players in your 50s do you know? I think Vish is incredibly impressive, actually. Let's not forget he almost did beat Pragg with the black pieces earlier today. This is the second classical game of the day, which is of course rough. So, quite understandable. He didn't want to go completely all in. I just didn't like the c5 move. But that's not because he's trying to bail out. It's actually the contrary, trying to be more ambitious than the position warrants. Update the MVL game where a bunch of pieces got exchanged. Rook d1, bishop f8, queen f6 was played and queen to b3. White isn't in time to give checkmate here with bishop e5 and queen h8. Because the rook is hanging. So he has to go somewhere. Rook e1, let's say. Then bishop g7. Frankly, if anybody's better, it's black here. White has to be careful. This pawn is sort of weak. Maxim's position is very compact. Rook e8, h5. One day you think about trying to attack this guy with bishop f8. So Nyback should be somewhat careful to not let this get out of hand. Do you lose rating when you don't show up? No. That is one secret to keeping your rating. Another one is not playing at all, which I keep trying to tell myself. Now was the time to quit while still 2600. But it's also fun to play. Not so much fun if you don't win or lose like an idiot, as I've been doing plenty recently. But chess is a hell of a drug.
Jonas weigert sich den Schlafanzug anzuziehen.
Warum das denn?
Keine Ahnung.
Keine Ahnung. Soll ich gucken, komm? Ich komm gleich. My son refuses to put on his, how do you call this? His pajamas. My daughter is trying to play director of the show, which badly needs a director. Cams are frozen, moves aren't updating, lots of issues. But at least we tried. So I should probably try to take care of that pajama situation. Go on a brief break. We'll give up on our ambitious try to get the cameras going. For now, but we might bring them back. Cameras aren't over till they're over. And I'll leave you guys for a bit. Sorry for the uncoordinated show here. Home alone with the kids and tech issues. It's a hard knock life for us. Who's in charge of production? I am. That's the problem. Pajamas first, camps later. Is Arjun moving? Pragg is moving the back. Maybe Arjun is just never moving. Alright, guys. I'll address the pajama situation. Thanks for your patience. See you soon. Another draw, ladies and gentlemen. I leave for 1 minute, putting on some pajamas, and Nyback and MVL agree to a draw after they somehow made all the pieces disappear from the board. We've seen this. Nyback went rook f1, and Maxim, a little surprisingly, but he was also very tight in the first game. He seems to be happy just drawing the classical games, not pushing for more. Agrees to exchange queens and all the pieces. I think he could have tried to push a little here. If he just goes bishop g7, let's say queen c6, rook d8. Does look to me like black is a bit better because of the weakness of this pawn. But instead he decided to not mess around. Went queen e6 and exchanged everything and shook hands. So draw 1-1 in that match. We're headed for the Armageddon there. Let's see how Mr. Arjun has been doing. Bishop takes f4. The clocks are wrong here. Queen to e7 was played, no? And he has decided to exchange rooks after long think. Once again, ignore the clocks. The PGNs aren't coming in real time. Vidit still has a little time. Rook takes e8, queen takes e8. And Arjun apparently found a way to grab that H pawn. Something like this on the board. Vidit still suffering a pawn down, but drawing chances still intact. So let's say queen to g4. It looks like his pawn went to e3. He played e3 here. Why give up all these pawns? No, that can't be right. The pawn is on e3, unless my eyes are deceiving me. Guys, you have good eyes. That pawn is on e3, right? Vidit is nodding, doesn't seem too concerned. Maybe he just wants to free his bishop. But that's a big price to pay. Bishop takes e3, bishop c6, and with two missing pawns, I think you just lose this. He doesn't look too worried. His position does look very worrying. So far, very much looks like Arjun is going to win this in classical, eliminate Vidit. Anand against Pragg. Looked like Anand was struggling a bit here. Pragg has this very nice knight on b5 now. And he's been slowly but surely putting pressure on the legend. Vachier-Lagrave. Put the queen on f6 if he hasn't done so already. Doesn't look all that pleasant. Vidit does a lot of nodding, but you can't nod the pawns back. Not gonna happen. Yeah, Onkar, see what Leech is showing. I don't think those are the moves. I trust the camera. That's why I'm trying to figure out what is really happening. Pawn to f3. What is going on? There's a queen on h4. Why wouldn't you just take? I understand nothing. Over corrected now, yeah. Okay, that makes more sense. This is what they played. Queen f4. Nickname. I didn't do this polo. This is my W Arches official shirt. I like having my name on the jersey. Feels good. Trying to figure out the move order from the live PGN, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So we'll just put the position on the board. Why would he not take? That is the big mystery to me. He went f3, which is probably also good. His pawn is not going anywhere. Well, it went to e2. I won't go further. But why he didn't take it? It's beyond my abilities to explain. Yeah, I'm ignoring the live PGN. I'm just trying to produce the position they currently have on the board. But how they got there? We don't understand. Bishop stopping the pawn. Was the bishop on g3 all the way? This is where they are. Still looks borderline waiting for white. This guy should eventually be gone. And I have a feeling that video won't survive this. Yeah, in the Anand game, not too much is happening. Here, Queen e8 was played, Anand played Rook b2. He's worse, because Pragg has this very, very powerful knight on b5, keeping an eye on d4 and on a3, while blocking the b file. True multitasker. But Pragg still needs to find a way to break through. Could try Queen e6, Rook e8. Computer even gives Queen g6 in some lines. Accepting triple pawns, but exposing this guy. So yeah, Pragg is pushing, but not breaking through just yet. Was a bishop on h4 and the queen was on f4. Maybe that was the source of our confusion. That I thought the pieces were arranged the other way. The position we have now appeared to be correct. And yeah, Vidit Still very much struggling. Like this, the moves make some more sense. Here e3 was played. Tried to break the structure, but Arjun said no thank you. Pawn got pushed further. Should be 1, queen b6 check, king h2. Yeah, Arjun's gonna win this. This pawn is not gonna queen. Black king is weak. This guy will always be a target. Vidit stopped nodding. I think f3 took the wind out of his sails. And good call by Arjun. Yeah, that explains everything. We're struggling as much as Vidit to figure out what's going on. This is the position they have, and you can see Vidit does not look happy with the overall situation. Armageddon is at 10 p.m. London time, 11 p.m. Central European time. Come on, Vidit. Give us a nod. Arjun. As a standard for him, he's nicknamed the Iceman for a reason. Does not look terribly excited, but he does look in control. Yeah, can't help but being impressed. Plays a French in the morning, creates a fighting position, then creates an idea against the Berlin, puts Vidit, super theoretician, playing the most solid opening known to man, that he was prepared for the candidates, under serious pressure, and should be on his way to winning this game without an Armageddon. Well, we can see Pragg nodding in the background, also working on avoiding the tiebreak. Vidit is going for the queen. But where's it gonna go? Queen g6. Does that help? Saying, please take another pawn, sir. The promise Arjun might oblige. Preparing a check. Vidit-Erigaisi. Calculating. Moving a little bit. Freezing. What's gonna be? he gonna grab it? Vidit very focused, but yeah, we haven't seen a knot for quite a while. Pragg is doing all the nodding. They're bored. Arjun struggling with the decision, not the position. Come on, take the pawn. YOLO. No moves yet. Meanwhile, Anand has stabilized just a little bit. I don't want to switch because it's more exciting if the pawn gets taken here. But Vachier is not much worse anymore and might be on his way to holding that game. But can Vidit do the same? What's that wristband Erigaisi is wearing? So the hotel thing that he gets full board with the red band, or what is it? I feel a move is coming. Erigaisi, you guys probably know the math he drew this morning that cost him what, 1 rating point. So he's at around 2790. If he wins this one, gets him to 2794-ish. So 2800 still in play this tournament. Of course, it is a very tall order to keep winning classical games against world-class opponents. But he's shown himself to be more than capable. I have a feeling he's going to win this. He's just taking his time. Think everything through here before grabbing the pawn. Come on, take it. Give a check. Calculating stuff like this, trying to figure out if black can improve the position here. Because if not, just push your queenside pawns, bring the king if needed, and probably just collect the full point. But he has not done it. He did not like that pawn. Went queen d2, also not a terrible move, saying I would like this pawn, it's further advanced. If you don't mind, give me that one. Vidit probably will mind and play queen e6, because he also has to defend the bishop. And then the slow torture will continue. The king can come here, approaching this pawn. Thing is also opposite color bishop endgames are lost now. If you lose the e2 pawn, with potential passer on both sides, You don't hold that one either. So it still looks fairly grim. Fabi's back to 2800. What's the score? I saw he was 3 out of 4. Could have been 3.5, no? Thing with Fabi's, we're so used to him being 2800. But you don't get a second chance for your first 2800. You do actually. Yeah, tough spot for Vidit. Arjun is impressive, not even a half day off. Tries to win with both colors against a Super Soul player like Vidit. Queen e6 played. Gotta defend stuff. Now. Bunch of options. King g1 looks nice. Queen d4 looks nice. Preparing king g1. King f2, but no, he's played king g1 pretty much instantly. Threatening king f2. He could give a check, but after the check, bishop f2, queen e6, this bishop goes to e3, blocks the way, and the e2 pawn is finally right for the taking. So yeah, this does not look promising. Arjun have traded queens with queen g3. Didn't want to. I think here you haven't picked up the pawn yet. Here you're probably not in time. Bishop f5, bishop b1. And now you will have to do this. But this could very well be a draw. Not 100% sure. This looks sort of drawish with the e2 pawn staying alive. What he wants to do is pick up the e2 pawn. And then he's free to exchange queens. King g1, and yeah, horrible situation. For Vidit, has to try to mix things up a little bit. Played b5. Arjun should keep pawns on the board. That's the general rule of thumb. If you're the attacker, you want to keep pawns. If you're the defender, you want to exchange pawns. So c5 does look like the way to go. Wondering if Vidit is thinking about something like b4 to free the square for his bishop, but it also costs a pawn, and this pawn is so well kept on the lock and key. It's never going to go anywhere. So it's not like this is a game-saving idea. There's also a5, trying to generate some activity. That's all fairly desperate. Because once we picked up another pawn, we're now happy to go for an endgame. Maybe something like this is his best way to try to confuse it. Sorry. Just putting some random lines on the board. But objectively, after c5, does not look like the game can be saved. c5 is not forced. Queen d4 is also a decent move. Tending king f2, and then bishop c3, and going back to attacking. c5 feels like the most methodical, just keeping more material on the board. And he's done it. Let's briefly check in with Anand. Yeah, he's still slightly worse, but g6 apparently helped white. The computer's giving this very weird plan to play queen e6, king g2, and queen g6, going for the triple pawn formation, but attacking this guy. And if white goes passive, rook a2. Triple pawns are pretty good, Pawn to G4, then Rook E8,
Darf
Rook
ich
E4.
bei dir bleiben?
Ja, ich bring dich gleich ins Bett. Kommst du gute Nacht sagen? Na? Wir gucken ein bisschen Schach. Magst du Schach? Ja? Da ist Schach ein bisschen langweilig. My co-host finally arrived to talk us through the positions on the board. Was glaubst du, wer gewinnt?
Was?
Was glaubst du, wer gewinnt? Weiß oder schwarz?
Schwarz!
Schwarz? Schwarz hat so wenig Bauern.
Weiß!
Weiß, ich glaube auch weiß. So, sollen wir ins Bett gehen?
Noch nicht.
Noch nicht?
Mhm.
Jetzt mal ein bisschen gucken.
Mhm.
We played A5. Probably the best chance, parting with another pawn to at least free this square for his queen. Generate modicum of activity.
Wann gehst du denn ins Bett?
Ich glaube, ich bleibe noch ein bisschen wach. Ich muss ein bisschen arbeiten.
Und dann?
Dann noch ein bisschen arbeiten. Ich
Und dann?
gehe so um 12 vielleicht ins Bett. Das ist zu spät für dich. Du musst doch morgen früh in den Kindergarten.
Aber morgen will ich doch von Felipa abgeholt.
Ja, ich weiß, aus dem Kindergarten muss erstmal hinkommen morgen früh.
Und lieber mit meiner Mama.
Oh, wir gehen gleich ins Bett, ne kleine Bär.
Weil ich in welcher Stadt Mama ist.
In Frankfurt.
Ich weiß nicht, wo das ist.
Das ist so 4 Stunden mit dem Zug von Hamburg.
Ist das nicht hier in Hamburg?
Ne,
Wieso bin ich allein bei Felipa?
gleich morgen auch wegfahren. Sorry guys, you can see there's a situation developing here. Erigaisi still much better, contemplating whether he should take the pawn on A5. I will address the going to bed negotiations and be back with the finish. To me it looks like Erigaisi is going to win this and Anand should survive, make a draw, which would take 2 matches to Armageddon and leave Arjun and Alireza as our first 2 finalists. But we'll come back and we'll try to figure out who's going where and why. See you soon. Alright guys, I'm back. Kids are in bed for now, so we will continue our fun show of trying to guess where Erigaisi's pieces went. Looks to me like he did not take the pawn on a5, but instead went after the e2 pawn. He's been consistent. They wants this pawn. Played king to f2. Vidit put a pawn on b4. Now he's probably trying to figure out if he should take this guy or not. Computer has all kinds of weird suggestions, which I'd be shocked. Then again, you can never be shocked with these guys. But I'd be surprised to see this happening. Computer is giving a move like c6 here. And if queen takes c6, queen g5 check, king f7, queen takes a5. There are no checks. Pick up the b4 pawn, then you get back to trying to round up the e2 guy. But Arjun's been very focused on the pawn on e2. So I'm wondering if he can just take it now. Don't see anything wrong with it, because I think the bishop endgame is still lost. Just bring the king. Then you slowly push these guys, even if they get blocked. Sooner or later, white will create another passer here, or attack these pawns. And yeah, does look lost. So if he wants the e2 pawn, he can have it, he can take it. But if he wants to be fancy, play a move like c6, that also seems good. He did not take, he went king f2, b4. So this is the complicated solution. This is also possible. And then going after this pawn this way, but nothing wrong with just taking the intruder. What's gonna be Arjun? Poor Vidit. Computer always shows his clock is running. When Arjun is thinking if the PGN freezes after a Vidit move. Take it. Like a Polaroid picture. He's taking his time, but not the pawn yet. Vidit stopped nodding. He of course understands. He's in a bad situation. Because yeah, after queen takes e2, if he can't exchange queens, his king is weaker. If he has to keep playing with queens on the board, it's also very bad news. And let's see. Arjun does go for queen g5 check. Saying, alright. Pawn can stay where it is. King f7 will be played. Then there's a broad choice. c6 still possible. Queen d8 is a good move. Just attacking this guy. Queen h5 is not bad, but I guess after king g8. Now you would have to go for c6. And he's played queen f4. What's that about? Queen f4. He's headed to c7. Also, he's asking Vidit, by the way, how do you feel about this endgame? This might be a decent version for Vidit, though, because his king comes to d5 so quickly. So maybe this is the one version that Vidit should actually offer. After queen f4, queen f6. Problem is, Arjun is not obliged to exchange queens. Can go queen c7, hitting everything. And black does not have a lot of checks. He has some, like queen h4. And if king takes e2, queen e7 check. But he's nowhere close to perpetual checks or anything like that. Vidit has decided he can't exchange queens, goes king g6. No. I'm expecting either queen c7 or maybe another check to force the king back. And then queen c7. Both of which look fairly convincing. Thinking about it. The Iceman. Is that the official nickname still? Yeah, gives another check, queen g3 check, asking this king to commit back to, I guess, the f-file before going queen c7. Which looks like a good idea. Yeah, I just don't see Vidit saving this. Magnus called him the madman of chess. Probably could have said he's a madman in a good way, but I'm not sure. I don't think madman can stick as a nickname. We'll keep the Iceman. King went back to f6. And the queen goes to c7. People say his opening choice is different from normal top elite players. Yeah, he's more flexible, very fighting with both colors. To some extent because he hasn't been playing too many super tournaments, but it clearly also works against very strong players. So probably he's just putting in a ton of work that enables him to play all these different openings, because that is not an easy thing to do at all. I don't know which historic top player to compare him to. Modern chess is so specific. Who was a guy? The thing is just, it's so much easier to master a lot of openings nowadays with the engines and the courses and so on and so forth, if you put in the time, that you can be much stronger playing what used to be dodgy openings than you could ever be in the old days. So I'm not sure if there's a precedent. I'm sure there were guys that played many openings and well, and played for a win with both colors. But I can't come up with a comparison. That strikes me as very accurate. Hello, Spassky. Looks like Anand's game is over. We'll check in with that in a minute. If you guys have good eyes, you can probably see where the kings are. Pragg was pressing, but did he convert? Timon, yeah. Arjun slowly gobbling up pawns. Queen c7, queen d5. Takes another pawn. It's a lot of pawns. Anybody with good eyes, where are the kings in the Anand game? Looks like they're in the middle, no? e4 and e5. She made a draw. She dodged a bullet there. I was also headed to Armageddon. Arjun could be the second person born in this millennium to get to 2800. Should know this. Who's the first? Alireza? Alireza was there. Gukesh also closing in, but he hasn't passed it yet, has he? Pawns dropping. Vidit giving some spy checks. But this will be over very soon. And it is over indeed. Which means Vidit-Erigaisi is moving on towards the semifinals along with Alireza Firouzja. Where they will meet the winners of the two Armageddon matches that we still have coming up between Anand and Pragg and MVL Nyback-Abdusattorov. Let's briefly check in. Let me get rid of this. with the Anand game. See how how that played out. It looked like Prague had a big advantage somewhere. Could not convert. Computer wants rook h8 here, threatening a check. F3, so the rook covers. Wants to take, then try to open the king up further with g4. As saying, white should not survive this. Oh, some funky stuff. Rook b2, rook to b8. If you take the rook, queen e2, king g1, gf. The missing rook is not the problem. But the white king is. For example, rook b2. Pawn to f2. And what to do? It's always nice to give a double check, checkmate. Doesn't happen all that often. There was the chance. Praggnanandhaa is saying, "Hi Jan, with chess getting younger, do you believe that the decision to pursue chess is driven by parental influence, or you see growing trend of kids independently gravitating towards the game?" I don't know, to be honest. I think there's always been both, like kids that were being pushed by their parents and kids that just are competitive and or like the game. So I don't think much has changed there. Maybe in some part of the world, of course, India now producing so many great players. There has just been a bigger pool of young players, and then some of them, especially if your top players are super good, will get good as well. See something similar in Uzbekistan, but I don't think, or at least I'm not aware of a trend that more parents are pushing their kids into chess, or more kids are saying, you know what, I wanna do this. But once again, I'm in Germany, where maybe that trend is not is not felt so much. As long as I've been in chess, it's always been both. Like, I think it's hard to become very good if you don't like it at all yourself, but there have always been kids with parents that were supporting them, or if you want a more negative connotation, pushing them to be good. And there were just competitive kids, which doesn't mean the parents can't be around, of course. I think few would argue that Magnus likes chess and is pretty competitive, but his dad has supported him a lot, made a lot possible for him. And I guess that middle ground is also very standard story, that kid likes chess, is competitive, parents are supportive but not necessarily pushy, and tends to lead to results. I don't know, I'm too far away from the chess boom in, let's say, India or Uzbekistan to say if there's a trend that maybe people are saying, you know what, these guys seem to be making some money, they're getting some exposure, maybe this chess is not such a waste of time. I don't know, could be, sounds logical, but I haven't seen examples or heard of that. Who was the most Rustam Kamsky of the 21st century? I have some thoughts, but I'm not going to share them. Yeah. Certainly many parents in chess, go to any super tournament, see a bunch of them. Alright, so let's try to update the Anand game manually. Knight takes c3 was played, queen takes c3, queen e4 check, f3, queen to b1, rook e2, rook b8. Still looks much better for Praggnanandhaa. Queen d2, queen to f5, rook e5, queen f6, rook takes g5, rook b3. Pragg still pushing. f4, rook takes a3, rook to e5, rook b3. Still looks good for black. How did he get away? Queen a2. Varma is saying, I come from Arjun city in India, city of 1 million. We have 2 GMs and 1 IM. Virtually every school kid plays chess here. Yeah, that is amazing numbers. And of course, that will produce lots of good players, especially if you have these role models out there competing with the very best. Not the case in Germany. Ben Morris saying, I think my kids started out pretty well, but I pushed too hard. Classic. Chased them away from chess. Where's the video of the event? It's over. But we have Armageddons coming up at 10 p.m. London time, 11 p.m. Central European time, 3 a.m. Indian time, is that correct? Pretty late at night, between 2:30 maybe, I'm not sure, but late at night for sure, between Anand and Pragg and between Nyback and MVL. Mr. Yeti Face, I think you're misquoting me. But like I said, lots of parents at chess tournaments live on their own, Jan. Not exactly a kid. And no, 2 hours from now. But he brought his dad to Vachier-Lagrave. Yeah, Henry Carlson. You see at many chess tournaments. Many others. Mom of Pragg is often around. Gukesh is dead. Alireza's dead. I'm sure I'm missing many. (10 p.m. GMT. It's 2:30 a.m. Indian time. Which one's GMT? That's London or Berlin? Hang on, let's try to figure out the moment where the draw was agreed here. I'm still trying to piece this together. I think Pragg just might have stumbled into a threefold repetition. Rook c4, queen d3. Do you repeat one time too many? Trying to figure out how this game ended in a draw. My PGN is messed up, so I'm trying to pierce it together here. But let's do the procedure. Okay, let's zoom in. See what happened. All right. Any eagle eyes out there? I can't recognize the position, but it must be very close to the one. The head on the board we have on our little analysis board here just looked like Vichy was still seriously worse. So I'm wondering how he got the draw. And my current working theory is that Pragg was repeating moves here with rook b4, queen d2, rook c4. One time too many. Now Kevin, I'll switch the stream off and start a new one for the Armageddons. Yeah, there goes the rook to b4. Somewhere around here we can see Vichy is studying his score sheet. I think he's calling the arbiter. Yeah. Hang on, that's not how you claim a draw though, is it? You write down your next move. Okay, he's pointing it out, saying queen d2 will repeat again, and then writes it down. Yeah, that I think is okay. I was always taught you write down your move, then you call the arbiter and point it out. But I guess the order doesn't matter that much there. And they shake hands, some debate. But I don't think Pragg wanted to repeat 3 times. Just lost the count. Oh, Tuchel got the job as England football manager? They do love their German managers, no? Kloppo, Tuchel. Didn't see that was official. Is this how it went? It's my best guess. You can't write down moves anymore before playing them, right? Yeah, no, I was confused about this. Because I was always taught, and I was told by arbiters, that in order to claim a draw, you write down the move, and then you claim it. But you're right, I also thought about this, that technically you're not allowed to write down moves before playing them. Maybe you're allowed to write them down if you're not going to play them, but claim them. But I was also thinking about this. So maybe Vichy taught us, here's the FIDE vice president, the proper way to do it. First you stop the clock and claim, then you write down. Although I've seen claims rejected because the move hasn't been written down. So it's still very confusing. I think I'll stick with writing it down and then claiming. One thing that could happen is you get a penalty for writing down the move. But if we have any arbiters out there, by all means, let us know. Vichy should have a decent chance on the tiebreak. Yeah, so should Pragg. Vichy's been struggling in the Global Chess League. 4 draws, 8 losses, out of character for him, at shorter time controls. And, of course, it's a very, very long day for everybody involved. But Anand always has a chance. He hasn't been doing too badly in these Norway chess tiebreaks either, has he? Why is it such a big deal? Shouldn't be whatever is easiest for the players. Yeah, but for example, in our last round match of the Olympiad, Germany-Bulgaria, we had a 3 full repetition on board 4, and the Bulgarian player tried to claim it. It was a 3 full repetition, but his claim was rejected because what he did, I think, is he played the move over the board and then stopped the clock and tried to claim. That wasn't allowed. So it's usually worth knowing how to claim. Why would arbiters watch a chess stream? Fair enough. Yeah, Wesley lost a game in the US Championship. When was it? Feels like 10 years ago. Because he kept writing these motivational notes on his score sheet and was warned not to do it by the arbiter. Kept doing it and he got forfeited for a game. I'm not sure what he was writing, but something like, I'm a rock, I'm an island. Something along those lines. I'm sure it was more profound than that. But yeah, I think he got a warning, or that's the story I heard, and then he was forfeited for a game against, who was it? Varushan Akobian? When he did it again. No, it's not 2 years ago, it's like 10 years ago. I would guess somewhere 2013-ish, that neighborhood. But you can probably look it up. So, don't write motivational quotes on your score sheet. Arbiters don't like it. Unless it's good stuff. If it's not like something like, if at first you don't succeed, dust yourself off and try again, that's of course fine. If you claim that you're gonna play a move that's 3 full repetition, you have to play the move? No. So write it down, stop the clock, and say, with this move, I can repeat thrice. See, no one knows the rule. We should find out. Anyway, I should find out if my kids are sleeping. We will be back in roughly 2 hours with the 2 Armageddon that are left. Tough day of chess here. The quarterfinal in the WR Chess Masters. Alireza Firouzja moves on to the semifinals with a minimum of effort. He showed up for the early morning game. His opponent, Raunak Sadhwani, did not, so Alireza won that one by default. Then he made a theoretical draw with the white pieces where I don't think he had to think too long and hard for that one either. So Alireza went through. Erigaisi went through, had to work much harder, but very impressive effort by Arjun as well, putting pressure on Vidit. First with black, then he almost overpressed, almost lost that game, but then came back to put pressure with the white pieces as well against the super solid Berlin defense. Showed an interesting idea. And yeah, what is there to say? Guy's good. Impressive stuff. The other 2 matches, Prague against Anand and MVL against Nyback, are heading to Armageddon. Prague versus Anand. Anand was pressing in the first game, Prague in the second game. So you could say it's just that both were draws. And MVL against Nyback. MVL was fine in both games, but then instantly made a draw instead of trying to win the classical. I don't know. Maybe this is mindset now after all this Grand Chess Tour stuff. He doesn't try to win. In classical, against the world's best players. Tries to win the tie breaks. I don't know. We'll see if that strategy is going to work out. Arjun, Vidit, still discussing their game? Or I don't know what they're discussing, but my best guess is that chess game. Colleagues on the Olympic gold medal team, of course. We don't know what they're saying. Can you pause the clock to ask the arbiter if you should write the move down before pausing the clock to claim a draw? You can always pause the clock to annoy the arbiter. I think worst case that happens is your opponent gets some extra time or you get a time penalty. But generally, we're too afraid of pausing the clock. Doesn't mean resigns unless you actually resign. So I'm pretty sure you can do that. What happens now that there's no winner in Vichy versus Prague? They play Armageddon, which will create a winner by default because black gets draws. So if white draws, he loses. That's gonna happen in, whatever, 95 minutes from now. I'll return for that. Thank you guys for sticking with me. Sorry for the tech issues and the kids issues and the chess skill issues. All the issues. But another fun day of chess. Congrats to Erigaisi. What a tremendous match he's played. And if you feel like, see you guys later for the Armageddons. If you're going to bet,